If you ask an average person to name North European countries, most likely you won't hear Iceland. That's probably due to the large distance from continental Europe, which is almost 1,000 kilometers. At the same time, the small nation of just 380,000 people built up an economy that has been topping GDP per capita lists for several years. Unlike many other small island nations, Iceland does not rely primarily on tourism, although the photos of its geysers and vast grasslands can often rival those taken in Ireland and New Zealand. One feature that astonishes tourists that come to Iceland is a lack of forests, trees in general to be more precise. Thus, one might ask, why would Vikings who relied on wood for construction of buildings and drag cars come to a country with no forest, severe climate, and not that welcoming name? According to Landnámabók, a full-scale settlement of Iceland began in 874 AD, although a small number of Irish monks already lived on the island. Numerous Vikings, predominantly from Norway, came to the island bringing Irish and Scottish slaves with them. Back then, 25% of Iceland was covered with forests. Moreover, early medieval Europe enjoyed the medieval warm period that helped boost agricultural production across the continent significantly. Therefore, a decision to move to Iceland was actually much more reasonable than it might seem. One of the main factors that have contributed to Iceland's success as a nation is the importance of Althing, which is among the oldest of the surviving parliaments in the world. The vast majority of the country's small population was represented by free and self-reliant farmers and fishermen. It was nearly impossible for chieftains to gain great political might. Thus, Icelanders were among the first peoples in human history to come up with an idea of a parliament that could ensure the importance of every citizen's voice. Kristnitaka, or Christianization of Iceland, was a peaceful process that was, unlike in most other countries, introduced by the parliament. The nation simply decided that it would need to become Christian in order to maintain good relationship with Norway, on which they relied greatly. In the 13th century, Iceland failed to keep its independence and became a part of Norway. Later, in the 15th century, entire Northern Europe became a single political entity, the Kalmar Union. Even after it was dissolved, Iceland remained under strong Danish influence in most spheres of life for several centuries. During the Second World War, British and American forces took control of the island after Germany occupied Denmark. After the war ended, Iceland became an independent nation and a member of NATO. The industrialization of the fishing industry and the US Marshall Plan program boosted the Iceland's economic growth. Although Iceland was not seriously affected by the war, especially compared to other European nations, the country received the most aid per capita of any European country through the Marshall Plan, almost twice as much as the Netherlands, a distant second. Tourism is currently responsible for 10% of Iceland's GDP. Not only wealthy Americans and Scandinavians, but people from all over the world are ready to spend substantial sums to be able to enjoy some of the most surreal sceneries on our planet. For instance, one of the most famous geysers in the country, Stokkur, erupts every 10 minutes. In fact, the word for geyser in the English language is derived from geysir, one of Iceland's geysers. Iceland's prosperity relies heavily not only on fishing and tourism. The country can boast high exports of aluminum that account for more than a third of its total exports. You might be surprised to hear that, but there is actually a simple explanation. The production of aluminum is extraordinarily energy consuming, and the fact that Iceland is world's top electricity per capita producer makes it one of the favorite locations for aluminum producers. Thus, even without tourism or fishing, Iceland's economy could easily stay sustainable by enjoying export profits possible thanks to unusually low energy prices. Moreover, almost all electricity produced in Iceland is clean, as it relies on renewable sources, geothermal and hydropower. You may be surprised to hear that, but this free, well-irrigated European country located in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, thousands of kilometers away from other economic centers, has no demographic problems. In fact, Iceland is one of a few European countries that have a fertility rate sufficient enough to ensure population growth. Moreover, country's prosperity, stability, unique culture, and omnipresent sense of freedom continues to attract migrants. For instance, migrants from Poland alone constitute more than 6% of Iceland's population. Therefore, many other nations concerned with aging population and economic stagnation should take into account Iceland's unique experience of balancing conservatism and open-mindedness, as well as government regulation and self-reliance. Recent Human Development Index ratings prove that this island nation has a lot of wisdom to share. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and recommend the topic for next video in the comment section.